Hello, yes, that's right. It's Joe here for Joyrider TV, back with some more scintillating live Q&A. Yeah, and we've got a great one planned for you today, as well as the questions that come through in the live chat. I've also got some very good preloaded questions, and as you will have seen in the description of this live Q&A, we're going to be looking at what angles to sail upwind. Oh yes, it's I don't know if it's a hot topic, but it's certainly a topic, and I think what we might do is steam straight in to this first topic of what angles should we be sailing upwind. Yeah, so here we go. I've actually done some preparation. Thank you very much. So here we go. All right, just remember to breathe. And so the way that we determine on a catamaran with two sails which angle we're going to sail upwind is by looking at the jib. So first thing we have to do to determine what angle we're going to sail at is to pull the jib in. If the wind is really light, we don't want to have the jib in as tight as it will go. We want to pull it in as tight as it will go, but perhaps about an inch or so less than what would be fully tensioned. That's going to put a bit more curve into the sail. So then, with the jib in that position, we're going to steer the boat by watching the jib. So we've got two telltales. These are our telltales, which if we were to draw them on to the sail, green, that must be starboard. That would be on that side of the jib, and port on the other side, like that. So, but we're actually on the other, the way I've drawn it, we're actually on the other tack. Apologies for that. So, in very light winds where there is absolutely no chance of lifting the hull, what we want to do is to have both telltales streaming straight back like this. So, which way do we steer for the telltales? If it's the telltale on the windward side, so all right, let's say it's on this boat. So the windward side would be the red one. If that one is either lifting or it's not flying straight back, if we're sure it's not stuck, then what we need to do is turn away from the wind slightly, like from there to position number 2 here. Then if it's the green one, the one that we can see on the other side of the sail, through the sail, then if that one's not flying straight back, then we need to turn the boat up more towards the wind to get the good airflow over that side of the sail. All right, so that is when the wind is very light. In all conditions, whenever you're steering the boat, you should be making your movements on the rudders very small and very smooth. Any big movements on the rudders are going to upset the flow of water around the rudders and the flow of everything around everything. So keep it smooth. That is really going to help. Then, as the wind picks up, apologies, I've done these the wrong way round. Didn't really think about that. As the wind picks up, so when we start to become able just to lift the hull a little bit like that, then we want to allow the inside telltale, which here is indicated as green, so the telltale on the side of the boat that we're sitting, we want to allow that one to lift, because what that's going to do is keep us close to the wind. I'll explain this further in a second. So this question actually comes from two different people. One is from Leo in Holland, who was asking why are we letting the inside telltales lift as the wind gets stronger, and then also from Vincennes. Okay, I don't know where Vincennes is, but he sails a Hobie Tiger and he can't get very close to the wind, very good upwind performance. So we're just going to start off by looking at the angle. So as the wind gets stronger, we're going to allow this inside telltale to lift, because what that means is that we're still sailing close to the wind. And then when the wind is much stronger, so when we're double trapezing, perhaps we're pulling on the downhaul to help to depower, then the angle that we're going to want to sail at is actually such that the inside telltale on the jib is lifting almost to vertical. If it's really windy, you might even be sailing with the front part of the jib flapping a little bit, because now here's the big because. If we keep the telltales both flying straight back as the wind increases, what's going to happen is we're going to start off kind of here and we're going to be sailing fast. So we're going to be creating a decent amount of induced wind because we're going faster. As that induced wind comes on, our apparent wind on the boat is going to come more round to the front, which means if we want to keep that inside telltale flying straight back, if we can't sheet the jib in anymore, we're going to have to turn away from the wind to like position number 2 as I've got it here. And then what's going to happen when we get there? Well, here's what's going to happen. This is going to be more of like a close reach to the true wind. So we're going to create more induced wind. You know, maybe here we're going to be like here, we're going to be doing, let's say, about 11 knots. If we turn down here, we're probably going to arc it up to about 14, which means a lot more induced wind, which means once again, our apparent wind is going to come round towards the nose. Oh my goodness. So how are we going to keep that inside telltale flying? Well, sorry, is this loud enough? Forgot to move the microphone. Apologies. Yeah, so what are we going to do? All right, to keep that flying, we're going to have to bear away a bit more. Oh, we're almost on a beam reach here. So what's going to happen? Oh, I think we're going to go even faster. Probably arcing it up to about 16 knots. Oh my days. 16 knots. What's that going to do to our apparent wind? That's going to bring it right round in front of us. So how are we going to keep that inside telltale flying? We're going to have to bear away a bit more. Oh my gosh. Yes. And so before you know it, if we're keeping the telltales flying straight back when it's windy, if it's windy enough to trapeze, you are going to end up on a beam reach thinking that you are sailing upwind. As a side note, this is also why people occasionally would say, well, I was going upwind, flat water, and I pitchpoled. Well, the thing is, you weren't actually going upwind. You were chasing the telltales until you ended up on a beam reach, probably still trapezing in the upwind position, so quite far forwards, and then sticking the bows in, flying round the front. Oh my goodness, what just happened? We are swimming. So that is the story of the telltales. That is why we're allowing the inside telltale to lift as the wind gets stronger. There we go. I think that is all that we need on the topic of course when it's windy. So if we've gone into a gust and the wind's got stronger, then yes, we'll let the inside telltale lift. And then if that gust goes down and we slow down a bit again, then yeah, maybe it will come back to a more of this kind of position from this position. So there we go. We have to be ready to react. But as I said before, we want to keep all of our movements very small and very smooth. All right, so I'm just going to check in with everybody who's checking in. All right, hello to Ryan in Hawaii. Great to have you with us, of course. We've got Mark and Janet in Ohio. As always, loved the Minicat 420 unboxing video. Yeah, I have to admit, I like the Minicat because what it does, you know, we're not going to get as good. This is a little preview to the review video. But if you haven't seen, the Minicat is a small inflatable catamaran. Yes, it is. It only weighs, it's under 70 kilos, the whole boat. And what it kind of gives you the feeling of is anything that's, any of these devices which has got an E in front of it, like an e-bike, an e-scooter kind of thing, where you do the same sport, but it's much easier. Now, the reason it's easier with the Minicat is because rigging the boat and getting the boat in the water is, compared to something like a Hobie 16, is effortless. It's got the volume in those inflatable hulls to carry up to 4 people, very high volume hulls. But because it's so light, it's just really, really easy and convenient. Just from my experience so far, from putting it from where I've got it parked, which is probably about 50 meters away from the sea, to in the sea, very easy. Yeah, so there will be more coming on the Minicat, because what's nice with this as well, because it's so practical, is it means I can keep a boat rigged and ready to go out during the winter months, whereas everything else I'm having to pack away. Bad Boy 94, unfortunately, is now in bits. Shame. All right, so who else have we got on board? We have got, oh, I don't know how to pronounce that. Specifically. It's getting cold here in Kansas. Our club put the boats to bed for the winter. Sad face. Yeah, shame. I think it's that time of year for a lot of the Northern Hemisphere, unfortunately. So hopefully you can have the feeling that you've done a fair bit in the summer, the season just gone, and you can hang on to those great memories of a good time of some good cat sailing. All right, we've got Marty on board in Switzerland. Nice to have you with us, Marty. Yes, I can now put your user ID to the face, to the person. Some people's user IDs on YouTube are sometimes quite unusual and very difficult to work out who they belong to. Marty was with us here in Vasiliki Bay this year and last year as well. Some great sailing there. Right, we've got Zach with us from Toledo, Ohio. My Hobie 18 is going to storage for the winter. Seems to be a common theme. Yeah, I hope that's all going smoothly. If you are packing your boat up, then give it an inspection as you put it away and make a plan of how you're going to address anything that needs addressing. So what would you do first when you're putting the boat away? We're assuming the sails are already off it. So you'd probably want to be dropping the mast. So when you're dropping the mast, good time to give the mast an inspection. So check the rigging, check the fittings, because what can happen is the fittings on the mast, if it's a slightly older boat or she's seen a lot of salt water especially, they might start moving a bit, the fittings, which might mean that they need to be re-riveted and certainly re-sealed. Yeah. When you're dropping the mast, you could check the rigging as well up at the hounds. That's what we call the place where the rigging attaches, and just have a look, see if anything is showing any visual signs of the fact that it might fail fairly shortly, like cracking or strands of wire that are hanging off, that kind of thing. And maybe think to yourself, when did we last replace the rigging? Well, the boat's from 1982 and it's still the original rigging. Well, perhaps that means maybe it's time to get some new shrouds and a new forestay, at least new bridle wires as well. Save you having to paddle it back home when the mast comes down. Then once you've got the mast off the boat, start checking round the hulls just for any cracking, anything looking dubious. Look on the front beam. The place to look on the front beam, is everyone done with this, by the way? Yep, all right. The place to look on the front beam when you're giving your boat an inspection, if that's the Dolphin Striker there, is just look underneath the front beam just there, because that's where most of the pressure is taken, and you're looking for any cracking, or perhaps if the hole where the Dolphin Striker rod comes through, if that looks like it's got quite big, then you might want to get a plate riveted on there or something just to strengthen that bad boy up. Yes, indeed. And then check the trampoline. If any of the lacing eyelets look like they're either half pulled out, completely pulling out, now is the time to take the trampoline off the boat, give it a good wash first, wash it, dry it, take it off the boat, take it to a sailmaker to perhaps change all of the eyelets. It's going to cost a couple of quid, but your trampoline will feel so much nicer knowing that those eyelets aren't going to pull out. Get your trampoline serviced, in fact. Nice. Yeah, and we continue everything on the boat. Check it out as you take it apart and put it to bed for the winter. There we go. All right, continuing in the live chat. We got Frank on board. Hello, Frank. We got Joaquin on board as well. Nice to have you on board. I believe Joaquin in Argentina. All right, Mark says, could you turn up the audio? Yeah, I think that might have been from before I moved the microphone. Hopefully, if somebody could just say in the live chat that it is sounding sweet now. Okay, somebody in the live chat, could somebody say it's sounding sweet now? That would be very nice. Okay, still waiting. Okay, this isn't making great TV. If someone could just type that in, that would be magnificent. Right, I'm just going to go back to the live chat. All right, we got Scott dropping it in the slot from Oregon. Nice to have you with us. All right, Frank says a bit better. All right, let's... Don't want it too much because then it might start clipping. All right, thank you, Hanny. Good to know that we're okay. Hanny is with us, of course, who says hello to all sailors everywhere. Hanny is a channel member, incidentally. If you become a channel member, just to let you know, one of the perks of being a channel member is you get early access to any of the videos which are published on Joyrider TV. And what I have to do, it depends on when I've finished editing it, to be honest. And I have certain dates when I like to, days of the week when I like to post the videos. But for example, if a video is going out on a Wednesday, then, and I've finished it by Monday, you'll be able to see the video on the Monday, and that'll be Monday and Tuesday. And then from the Wednesday morning, then I would have to set it back to scheduled kickoff date at that time. Because if I forget, I do forget things, then, Christmas is cancelled for everyone. That's a shame. All right, we got Stephen on board. I believe that would be Stephen from Graph and Water UK. Nice to have you with us. Ban Flex is on board also. Okay. All right, we've got Was Solders Size 42. May I ask a completely off-topic question? Actually, this is on topic. He says, what watch do you use to get the speed for the speed stick or perhaps for the videos? Well, I have to tell you, this year, have I got my... Yes. I haven't been using a GPS watch so much at all because the Locosys GW60 that I'd been using exclusively for, I suppose, the last 5 or 6 years gave up. The watch has failed, which is a shame. I did use it a hell of a lot, but I don't know why it failed. It failed, and I gave it to Stefan, who's very clever, and he couldn't fix it. So I thought that watch is not coming back. So I'm back to using the Timex Global Trainer, which is a really old one. I think this is like 15 years old. But it gives me a rough idea of how fast I'm going. But what I've been using for the videos is I use the inbuilt GPS on the cameras. So like on the GoPro Hero 8, anything in fact since the 5 has got an inbuilt GPS. So I generally use the GPS data off the 8. Just so I keep it consistent. But what I've been doing, have I got that other one around? Oh yeah, is I use the 8 and the GoPro Max. I use both cameras, and then if I've done something remarkable, like when I went sailing with One Shoe Phil and we did over 26 knots, then I'll check the GPS from both cameras and anything else. Just to make sure that it wasn't some sort of GPS glitch, that the result was accurate. I've also been using, here we go, here's the reveal. This is a Velocitech Speed Puck. I really like this, and the only reason I haven't been really going to town with kind of like how good this is because I'm hoping to get some sort of affiliate deal with Velocitech, and until then I'm just going to quietly be using this. But this gives, rather than giving you the top speed, this gives you the top average speed over 10 seconds. It's a very nice piece of kit, and you can mount it anywhere on the boat. I don't think we'll get any... Oh, there we go. We've got some numbers now. But the display is really big. So like if you've got it on your boom, for example, you can see how fast you're going, even when you're out on the trapeze. There we go. It's a nice piece of kit. All right. So there we go. All right. Ryan says, feeling it Friday. Good morning, everybody. South winds in store for the weekend, and I know what that means. Chase the nectar. Yeah, so it sounds like on Maui there could be some juice with which Ryan can go and cut loose. Have you still got a getaway, Ryan? If you have, you know, not long left for the getaway challenge. That's all I'm saying. All right, Luca's with us in France. Okay, nice that you could join us, Luca. Okay, Stephen says, single hull Hobie 16 sailing was super on Show Us Your Cat. Oh yes, that was pretty special. I'm not even going to ask if everyone's seen that, because that episode has actually had more views than any other episode of Show Us Your Cat ever. So I'd have to say thanks again to Nathan, who sent me the video. It is absolutely epic. All right, so Stephen says, I've always wondered what to do should a hull fall off mid-sail. Yeah, I think if you're not ready for it, though, if your windward hull falls off, your mast will probably fall down as well. So Frank is in Clearwater, Florida, USA, very near home base of SAMS, which is the Southern Association of Multi-Hull Sailors. Nice. All right, Mark says, great telltale explanation. I've always wondered why I never knew which direction I ended up sailing. There we go. Glad to help. Duke is on board. Come visit Murray's in Carpinteria. Love to. When the world tour kicks off, I'm going to come and visit pretty much everyone. Don't worry. I'll be packing my bags. Now, have I got... No, this is news just in. I believe... Is it next Friday is what's known as Black Friday? Just going to give you the early warning here, just in case you were going to go shopping now. But you may know that I suppose I'm a sponsored rider for Sun God sunglasses, which I really like. Not because they give them to me, but I really like them. They are so nice. But Black Friday, Sun God are going to be doing a buy one pair, get the second pair for free deal. Just so you know, just giving you the heads up. I'll give you all the codes nearer the time. All right. The reason I've said that there is because Duke won a pair in a competition on the channel. All right, we got Felipe with us. Fair winds to all on board. Tarafa from Rio, Brazil. Nice. Very good. Ryan's asking, is there samba in Rio? I'm sure. All right, so where are we? Nice. And we've got from the Tornado Class Association, we've got Marcus on board. Every time Marcus gets on board, I think it's only fitting that I pull out my award that Marcus gave me at the Worlds this year. Still got it in the studio. In fact, there's nowhere I can put it down here, so I won't. But nice to have you with us, Marcus. Tornado number 2. Yeah, Hanny says it's a great feature of being a channel member is being able to see the videos before everyone else. Makes you feel a bit special. And it means you don't have to wait. Yeah, we got Declan, channel member Declan with us. Nice to have you on board as well. As always, Scott dropping it in. Will you tell us about the GPS puck you're using and where to get it? Yeah, so I think I don't actually... we got ours because we actually bought, for Wild Wind Sailing Holidays, we bought 5 of them for a Total Joyrider Speed Week. And we got them, I believe it was from the UK dealer. But the best thing to do would just be to Google Velocitech Speed Puck, and then on the website it would say where to buy one, and that will bring up a list of who's that, Scott? Yeah, that would bring up a list of all of the dealers and distributors in the USA. There we go. All right, so Declan says, just stopping by quickly to say hi. Hope you're all well. Have to dash. Hope you have a lovely weekend. That is a very fetching shirt. Oh, yes, thank you very much. This is the Glossary of Sailing, Glossary of Terms sweatshirt. So, you know, it's rare these days to get a sweatshirt rather than a hoodie. So I thought in the online store, I would put a rather fetching sweatshirt. And yes, they are in stock. Very nice. So get over there. Great Christmas gift ideas or any other sort of gift. If you don't know what to buy, the person who's been helping you with your boat the whole year, they'd like one of these, or at least a woolly hat if it's getting cold. Okay, so Ryan says in Maui, want to tell everyone about the sweatshirt that I've got on. It's the perfect weight for those chilly fall or winter evenings, and you can get it customized. There we go. Yeah, so I did some for Ryan, which actually I replaced this boat with Ryan's boat, which I thought looked pretty nice. There we go. Okay, so back to the preloaded questions. And I think what we're going to come on to now is a question from, is this from Marty, the preloaded one about the Hobie 18? So I'm just going to double check your user ID. Yeah, Jab TV 2008. Yeah, so this is from Marty in Switzerland, who is sailing a Hobie 18 from 1982, and he's trying to figure out the correct position of the clew connection to the jib sheet and the position of the jib blocks. Okay. This kind of goes along with our what we were talking about earlier with the telltales and how we're going to get those bad boys in the right spot. But I think it's quite, I don't know if it's standard, but with the classic 18, just to draw the clew, let's do the clew of the jib first. If that's the clew of the jib, there's the tack like that. There's our telltales. So this is the clew. I always thought it was standard on the 18 that the boat just had a single eye in the clew of the sail. But it does seem clearly that Marty's boat has got a clew plate more like what you would find on an F18 or a Hobie 16 or a Tornado or pretty much anything else. So on these clew plates where it's like the tip of the sail has been cut off, you're going to have usually either, I think, 4 or 5 holes, which is pretty normal. So what I would do with the positioning of where you're going to put the jib sheets is what we're looking to do here, is we're trying to get an even amount of pull. Oh, right, here we go. Marty says, I have a new jib with a plate that has 4 holes. There we go. So this is going to be like an aftermarket jib that Marty's had made. What we're trying to do here is from the angle of the sheet. Of course, on the 18, we can change the angle of the sheet as well. But what should we be changing? The angle of the sheet or the position on the clew plate? I would have the sheet in your, what you would call your standard position to start with when you set the jib clew plate. And what we're looking to do is pretty much with the angle that the rope is coming up, we're looking to go bang halfway between the leech and the foot. So we're trying to cut the sail in half there. So that pull hits it up there. And what we're trying to achieve, if you attach it, so in the example here, it would be in the middle hole. And then what we're trying to achieve is to get a similar amount of tension in the foot of the sail and in the leech. That's me doing the leech. That's me doing the foot. Similar amount of tension. If there's too much tension in the foot of the sail, then that means that we've put the jib sheets too low down on the plate, and of course vice versa if we've got too much tension in the leech. Of course our leech would not be going like that, it would be going more like that. Yeah, and by doing this, what we're also going to be helping with is getting, if you've got 2 sets of telltales on the jib, you're going to help to get them to break at the same time. Like if you've got the sheeting angle too low down, so you've got too much tension in the foot of the sail, then that means the bottom of the sail is going to become oversheeted much quicker, much sooner than the top of the sail, because the bottom's going to be flat, and then the top is going to be twisting off loads because we haven't got enough tension in the leech. So that is number one. And this all helps with answering Vincenz's question about how to go better upwind on a Tiger as well. This is all relevant to that as well in the preloaded. So then on the Hobie 18, we have got, just to confuse matters a little bit, rather than if we just draw from above, rather than having a traveller that goes this way for the jib, we've got one that goes this way. And the reason why the classic 18 generally just had the single point on the clew is because this jib track is going to do exactly the same thing. Exactly the same thing. But what we can do, because we've got effectively two things that do the same thing, is we'll just be consistent with where we put the jib on the sheets onto the jib. So if it's the middle, always put them in the middle. And then because we can change the position of the block there while we're actually sailing, which is much more useful. So what would we do with the block? If the wind was lighter, then we'd want to have them as far forwards as they'll go, but so that we've still got that even tension leech and foot. So we never want to go further forwards than there. So once you've set that and you know where that position is on the jib block, well worth putting a marker on the track somehow, like a bit of tape or something, so you know that is your lighter wind setting. And then when the wind gets stronger and you want to start to spill a bit of wind, in the same way that we would on other boats by travelling out, we're then going to move the jib track back more, which is going to put more tension in the foot of the sail, allowing us to flatten the sail off at the bottom. And then when we do that, it's going to let the sail twist more, which means the top of the sail will be opening up and spilling wind. It's going to be giving us better performance. There's not necessarily going to be a lot of movement there, only 15 centimeters or something, but that will be enough from light winds to strong winds. If you put it too far back, you're going to find that the back of your sail starts flapping, or you're not going to be able to get any tension in the leech of the sail at all. So then you're going to need to put it forwards a bit again. But that is what I would do in that situation. What else was I going to say? Oh yeah. So this is going to change in two situations. One is if you put the tack of the jib lower down or higher up, that means it's going to change the dynamics of everything else. So you're going to have to measure it up again. And the same thing goes for if you're going to change the mast rake on the boat. So if you're putting the mast further back, what's that going to do to the jib? It's going to mean at the same angle, we are going to get more, what's the stuff called? Tension in the foot of the jib, which means we're going to want to sail with these travellers a bit further forwards if we're raking the mast back more. So there we go. I hope that is extremely helpful, Marty, and everybody else. That is what I would call a very good explanation on that. Thank you very much. All right. So the next part of Marty's question Topic, downhaul. So Marty says he's upgraded his downhaul to having a 3-to-1 block, but despite pulling like a tractor, doesn't see the mast bending much at all. 3-to-1 isn't very much, to be honest, on the downhaul. Like on Hobie 16 as standard, we've got 6-to-1. On the many tornadoes, you'll have a 12-to-1. So 3-to-1 isn't much. So, I would say more. One thing you could do, any Hobie 18 sailors, is just refer back to Show Us Your Cat episode, what would it be? 133, which was the one about the Hobie 18 reimagined class, which is the class that John Forbes, Olympic gold medalist, has made in Australia for putting new life into the Hobie 18s, and see what he's done with the downhaul system and basically copy it. That is what I would do for sure. There we go. Thank you, Marty. All right, so back to the live chat. All right, we've got Luca on board. Nice to have you on board, Luca. He says, at what age did you start sailing and working? I am 16, got my first job as a sailing instructor, and last summer made over €2,500. Wow, that is pretty nice. Yeah, I started sailing when I was, I suppose, about 11 years old. I started off by just sailing on a boat called a Wayfarer, which is, I think they are sailed around the world, but it's basically a 16-foot long open monohull, very stable, not particularly quick, bit slower than a laser, but for 2 or 3 people. And that set me up really nicely with the fundamentals of actually sailing. And then at the same time, through my sailing club, I started crewing for somebody on a Dart 18. And then after a year or 2, I bought my own Dart 18 and started helming. And that's when the changes all started to happen. But I didn't start working as a sailing instructor, or getting paid for it at least, until I was 18. And I was working at that time at Grafham Water, which is near to, I suppose, Cambridge would be the nearest big town in the UK. And I was getting paid £20 a week. Yes. There we are. 2 years I did there. And then after that, I was lucky enough to get the job in Greece and never looked back. I never thought that there was any point to go anywhere else, because as soon as I got here, that was it. Job done. That is where I want to be. There you go. All right, we got Toot on board in Texas. Nice to have you with us, Toot. I've actually, news just in, I've actually just finished doing the editing of Show Us Your Cat, episode 135, in which you will be able to see Toot's face for the first time on Joyrider TV. Very exciting times. So thanks to everyone who's got involved there. And like I've said before, if you want to keep having new episodes of Show Us Your Cat, to keep them coming, you're going to have to show us your cat. Otherwise, there's no cats to show. There we are. Okay, Hanny says she's got to go. All right, nice one, Hanny. Catch you later on. Marty says, bloody good explanation. Yes, thank you, Marty. We got Noah on board, who is 15 and started sailing last year. Cool. And he's just talking to Luca. All right, great stuff. All right, Toot says, on his Hobie Wave for the downhaul, he has a 6-to-1, and he's used a 16-track Hobie, traveller track and car. Great stuff. All right, we got Aaron with us tuning in from the crack of before dawn, I should think, in New Zealand. Thanks for tuning in as always, Aaron. Nice to be hitting many corners of the world, because we've definitely got the USA, we've got Canada, we've got Brazil, we've got Holland, we've got Sweden, the UK, and New Zealand, and probably Australia as well. And there we go. Everybody is here today. Nice. Okay. So, yeah, back to this upwind. What can we do to do better upwind on a tiger? So as usual, I would start with the setup of the mast, because if you're really not pointing well upwind, it could be because your mast isn't raked back enough. Let's see, can we draw a fairly good looking tiger? Not bad. Okay, she'll do. So when we are measuring the mast rake, what we do is, with some tension in the rig, so we don't want the rig to be wobbly around, we detach one of the trapeze wires, we take off the elastic, and then we'll take the trapeze wire and we'll take it forwards. So we might have to put an extra bit of rope on it. So we pull it tight forwards, placing it down here on the pin of the bow tang where the bridles attach. And then we keep hold of that fixed point and we take it to the back. And we see how far it goes along the hull. So what we're looking for, very generally speaking, with a tiger or any kind of F-18, is we want that point to come to about, I don't know, 1.5 inches or so down the back of the boat. So that is going to be a decent amount of mast rake. If in doubt, if you're set, like if, for example, if you've just got hold of a boat like an F-18 or a tiger, and you don't know how far back to put the mast, generally speaking, put it back as far as it will go. So the adjustment you would do using the chain plate here, put the forestay on the end hole of the chain plate, get a bit of tension in the rig. If you absolutely can't get any tension, even with the shrouds on the lowest hole, then that probably is too far. But get some tension in the rig, give it a measure, see where it comes to. Because especially with the older tigers, the trend back then was to sail with the mast a lot more upright, which would mean that we wouldn't have such good upwind performance. Yeah, so we want to have the mast back, because when we're putting the mast back, we're bringing the centre of effort of the whole rig further back, which is going to put more pressure evenly between the rudder and the centreboard. So it's going to line up with about here, which any pressure behind the centreboard is going to help send the boat up towards the wind more. There we go. All right, so there's the mast setup for getting the boat pointing higher. Then what's next? What would we look at next? Then we've talked about the jib and our course, so we don't need to talk about that anymore. So let's talk about crew positions on the boat. So if we're looking from above, upwind crew positions. So wind's coming from here. So If the wind is light and there's very little chance of trapezing, we're going to have the crew here, helm here, and that is absolutely where you're going to go. Perhaps let's be a bit more accurate. I'm going to do it in red now just so we can see the difference. So helm here, crew here, very close together, concentrating the weight over the front beam. That is our best position for upwind sailing. And then as we start getting into trapezing conditions, next position is going to be, we'll do the next position in blue. The helm is going to just move back very slightly, just so you get better control. That's the only reason there. And then the crew out on the trapeze here. That's the next position on the upwind. Then, as we get more wind, so we can be trapezing all of the time, or perhaps even double trapezing, what we're going to do next position in green is going to be, if this is the dagger board here, so if we can double trapeze, we are going to be focusing our weight on the dagger board. That's going to give us the maximum amount of lift. And then if one person has to be moving in and out, then it should be the crew who's moving in and out, so that the helm can focus on just keeping the boat sailing as steadily as possible. And then when the wind is absolutely full on, and we're going to go back to black here, we're just going to come back a little bit more. So crew's front foot is going to be kind of by the dagger board. Sorry. Lot of enthusiastic chatting today. And then the helm just behind. Always as close together as possible. So there we go. Those are the definitive crew positions. Next, main sheet and traveller. On the upwind, we're always going to sail with the traveller in the middle. No ifs, no buts, no coconuts, to quote Wreck-It Ralph. If we let the traveller out, we're not going to be able to point upwind. That's just the story. That's how it is. And then with the main sheet, what we're going to do is sheet in as tight as possible, but we're going to be looking at the leech of our mainsail. And on the leech of our mainsail, what we want to have is 4 leech telltales. I put the leech telltales, personally, I put them halfway between each of those battens up there. And then what we're looking for with our main sheet tension is, as we pull the main sheet in tighter, when we start oversheeting slightly, we're firstly going to lose that bottom one. And then as we pull it in more, the rest of them are going to disappear around the back of the sail. So this is what we're looking for. Just the bottom telltale, just going around the back of the sail. So that is the sweet spot for the main sheet. So if the next one disappears, ease the sail out a bit. If this one comes back, sheet it in a bit. That is the sweet spot. There we go. All right, so I think that is a pretty good definitive how we can sail upwind better on the Tiger kind of bit of chat. If we look at mast rotation, don't get too bogged down with the mast rotation. The more time you spend fiddling with things, the less time you're going to be spent focused on where are you going. So mast rotation is going to be pointing at the shroud, and the only time you're going to move it is when it's so windy that we're back in this position with these guys. When it gets that windy, then we're going to pull the mast rotation on a bit so that the spanner bar is pointing just forwards of the back beam there. There we go. So I hope that helps. I hope that helps everybody. So just to finish off in the live chat. All right. Noah says on his Hobie 16 downhaul uses a 2-to-1. Yeah, I would upgrade that to up to a 6-to-1 would be good. We've got Leland Lee on board in Clearwater, Florida. Coming through a bit later than usual today, Lee. But welcome aboard. Noah says, do you have any tips for painting a Hobie 16? I would say really consider if you want to paint the boat in the first place, because there is something very special about the original finish on these catamarans. Even if it's looking a bit rough, if you can, if it's looking a bit rough and you can give it get it really clean and then give it a polish, that is classy. So really think about it. Do you want I think when you painted a boat, unless you've done it really nicely, it kind of loses its, I don't know, loses something. But yeah, I'm apart from that, I can't really give you much advice there, because I'm not a boat builder and I haven't actually painted a boat in my life. So there we go. That's why I can't help you with that. But what I do know is it is all about the preparation. Spend a lot of time preparing. All right, we've got Jack on board who says, have you found an effective method to keep the ladies away? Once they find out I have a boat, they can't help themselves. That is a strong question. I would... what helps me when it's windy is because it's largely due to the fact I've usually got a camera on it. But when I put my helmet on before I go sailing, that puts people off sometimes. They think, oh, he's putting a helmet on. This is pretty serious. That's my only advice on the topic there. All right, Toot says, we used to call the Hobie the divorce boat. First summer, both people sail every weekend. Next season, wife comes out half the time and then going down to never. Third season, husband has a new girlfriend. Wow, there we go. All right, Frank says here in Clearwater. Okay, so Frank and Lee, both in Clearwater. All right, we've got Derek with us. Hello, Derek. I have a Hobie 16 and I'm trying to improve my race starts. What would you say is the best strategy to improve starts? Okay, and let's have this as the last question in the live chat, please, because we've been going almost an hour now, but and this is quite a strong question. So, how to improve race starts? I would say, and I did make a video on this, when would that have been? September sometime. Practice. That's what's going to help the most. So the practice that I was talking about in the video, this is the single thing that is really going to help. All you need is one buoy, or it doesn't necessarily need to be a buoy, just one fixed point. It could be an anchored boat, although they might get a little bit funny if you're using if there's people on the boat and you're using their boat as a for an exercise. It could be a post in the water, anything at all, as long as it's got water on all sides and it's not moving. That's what you need. And then, so wind coming from here. And then what I would do for this exercise is to get you'll need a watch. On your watch, you want to run 2-minute timer, and then what we're looking at doing is getting our boat here somewhere where when the 2-minute timer goes, and then what we're trying to achieve is when that timer expires, we're trying to put our boat right next to the buoy on an upwind point of sail. If it's windy enough, on the trapeze, but not so, we're going to put the crew into the buoy like the monkey scraper that we've heard about. If it's not windy, then we certainly want to have the boat at kind of racing speed. But just do this exercise for as long as your time allows. If you could do this for half an hour every week, your race starts will improve massively, because your judging time and distance is going to improve. Your ability to slow the boat down is going to improve. And then this is going to give us the ability to put our boat somewhere at a very specific time. So then when we're getting on to the actual race course, rather than next to a buoy, it might be like if this is the start line on the race course, then you might think, all right, we want to be starting like there. So you know that if you put your boat there with 2 minutes to go, you're going to be absolutely bang on. Of course, the more boats there are on that start line, we're going to want to be closer to the start line earlier, so the other boats don't leave us behind and just kill us with dirty wind. So perhaps with the exercise, sometimes you should think, all right, we're going to start just 4 boat lengths away. So really close. If this is our buoy for the exercise again, we'll go really close to the buoy, although it makes it harder. And we're just going to sit here for 2 minutes and we're going to drift this way so that we finish in the right spot. I would say that is a very good thing to do to improve your race starts. Hope that helps. All right. So Frank says gel coat is tougher, and in the answer to the question on painting your boat, and if you run it up the beach to park it, gel coat will take it better. Yeah, gel coat's going to last better than paint. Right, we got Pierre on board in Quebec, Canada. Nice, bonjour. Zach says I am running a 5-to-1 downhaul on my 18s. Nice. And we've got Mac Greener with us. And to Mac Greener and everyone else, I will say hello and goodbye, because yes, it's time to wrap this up. Thanks to everybody who's been in the live chat. Thanks to everybody for their continued support of Joyrider TV. Without you supporting Joyrider TV, I wouldn't be doing this right now. No, I'd be doing something else. I'd probably be out on the bike, to be honest. So thanks for your continued support. Show Us Your Cat will return on Sunday at the time of 8 o'clock Greek, which is 7 o'clock Central European, which is 6 o'clock in the UK, which is, you're going to have to do the maths for everyone else. So see you at the premiere of Show Us Your Cat. Otherwise, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you soon. Well, on Sunday, in fact, on Joyrider TV. Thank you very much.